I took the cards from the Millennia of Ages box, and I began, I believe, with 2 decks. And then I started looking at the cards and seeing ideas for additional decks. I ended up with 4. Now the stacks are substantially, not substantially, but a lot bigger for these 2 than these 2. But that's going to be, that can be like a fun game that somebody would play. I don't think I have time to do it, but I'm just going to show you guys what the cards are. And then after that, I'm going to crack 15 packs of Moon Priestess Returns. This is the set that I started with in Force of Will. I think I bought a total of 27 packs. I know I left 12 for later. I'm leaving some packs for later because I know that I want to do more later. Alright, so let me discuss. I'll go through the short ones and then go through the big ones. But eventually, there would be a fun sit down where someone could like make the 4 decks, balance them, do a lot of rock paper scissors between them, rock paper scissors and something else. So anyways, the rulers are here for a reason. Of course, Force of Will needs a ruler, and in the case of this deck is really what would have been the only deck, which would have been the one that had all the 6 sages, was on light. And because it's got a playset of Grimms, let's just read Grimm just to show why this deck is the way it is. The reason why Grimm is here is because other light resonators you control gain +200/+200. So this is kind of like the light lord for the deck. Of course, a card that comes out of Millennia of Ages, and I was able to crack a playset out of the box. I added a few more cards that I had to complete the 6 sages. And so then this light deck is really... It's got the whole light suite for 6 sages, and then it's got some helpers. So these are really light helpers. And of course, because I have so many cards out of a single Millennia of Ages box, I can have playsets for everything. And then eventually I would sit down and try to balance out each of the 4 decks. I'm not going to have time to do that, but I just want to show that somebody could do this. And this is my own humble way of proving Millennia of Ages is actually a pretty good, fun set. It's just that once you crack a single box, which you're going to get for like 30 bucks, you're done. Okay, so this one says, when this card enters your field, search your main deck for Grimm. So this card is going to tutor for your Grimm, so it's very useful. And then this card, Lumia, is banish this card, you gain life equal to the damage that was dealt to you this turn. That's a good protection for lasting a long game. So those are the 3 cards. Then, okay, so the ruler itself is a very simple ruler. You know, the Pandoras are very simple rulers. As resonators are very weak. They have fat butts, 400, 800. And Pandora of Light, they both start as the same front, which is white, you know, light darkness, white black. So for 5, you flip it over, and that's all it is. You just put it down, you get your will. When you're happy with your will, you flip it over. And in the case of light, it destroys all resonators. In the case of dark, your opponent discards his or her hand. That's really their trick. Okay, so that sort of sets up the deck. And then you have the Kaguya, which can get tutored. Kaguya is not a 6 sages, but when you tap it, you can put knowledge counters on 6 sages. And then the 6 sages have their own thing going. 0 prevents damage. They do other things. Then of course this guy, when you tap him, you draw a card. That's really good, and it came straight out of Millennia of Ages, a whole playset, of course. Then Almirius can remove target attacking resonator from the game. I'm reading just the very bottom. They do other things. Then Mooch Dart, I've got 3. So you can either draw a card or you can rest target resonator. So it's kind of like a control card. And then the Shining Bamboos can fetch can tutor for Kaguya. And then this card can remove a resonator from the game, so it can banish. And then Alice can return target resonator to the hand that is 5 or greater. That's the errata. It's not 5 or less. It's 5 or greater. So a big critter, and then you draw a card. And of course, your high end is really your purple mist for attacking with flyers. So that's really the white, the light deck. Then the darkness, the Pandora Dark deck, has a little bit going on with cards from other sets in Grimm. So it's got Little Red, which comes from Moa, but Little Red says discard a card with Apple in its name, and this card deals 1,000 damage to target resonator. That's pretty good. And then for the Awakening, which is really kicker, you can tutor for Granny, okay? And Granny is right here. And Granny has a very interesting clause because it comes in as a 100, 1200, but whenever a werewolf comes into play, you can swap it into a 1200 or 100. That's pretty good. So you're going to need some werewolves in this deck. You're going to need some apples in the deck. And then so I've got a nice suite of werewolves. Okay, this one's particularly interesting because it's both a nightmare and a werewolf. There aren't that many, but just enough to make the deck viable. And I just put in a selection just for fun. Then on the high end, this deck has Susanovos, which have swiftness and can come in for a lot less cost, for only 3, if your opponent controls the dragon. So it's kind of like a rock paper with any deck having purple mist or any flyer. Okay, and it's got Ebon, and Ebon has his book, and also it's got an activate where target resonator against -400, -400. So you've got some removal, and you're really in fire darkness. Then this guy from Moa, tap it, target resonator gets boosted by 200. Then the Nyarlathoteps, which I pulled like 10 of them out of the box. It seemed like a lot, probably 2 play sets, but I only used 1. It's a Thulu. You can look at your opponent's hand. Then, because of course you're in fire. Then you have Milest or Milest. I don't really know how to pronounce them. Deals damage. Then you've got Thulu, also from Moa. You see, I mean, you can build decks, and they're fun decks. I mean, it's a shame the way the product was packaged. -400 in the butt. Then Ghost Flame, you know, whack for damage. Then the Book of Ebon that came with Ebon. Put target resonator from a graveyard into your field, so it's a reanimation spell. Then the Blade that goes with Susanowo, place it of course. And then another reanimation spell. And remove all cards from target player's graveyard from the game. This card deals 100 damage to your opponent for each card removed that way. That's pretty good direct damage to your opponent. Okay, so those are small selections. Then the larger selections, in the case of Kaguya from MPR, and of course we're going to crack packs from MPR in the next videos, which I'm really looking forward to. This one has some fight things just because it's a strong card. Nothing special about it. But Kaguya is all about treasury items. Let me see how far I go with treasury items. And the interesting thing about Kaguya is this resonator, which I love. This is a great card. It's all of a common out of CMF. And it's a were-rabbit. It says, this card gains +400, 400 for each treasury item you control. So this is perfectly made. And so I figured, hey, I'll put the were-rabbits. I'll make a were-rabbit deck with treasury items for Kaguya from MPR. So this is like a $1 card. This game is kind of dead, so you can buy the cards for next to nothing these days, which I think is great. And so a bunch of treasury items, not all of them, but enough. And the treasury items are all kinds of colors. All right, and so because they're all in all kinds of colors, you really are going to need a 5-color rainbow spell. Of course, Absolute Cake Zone, a great cancel spell in green. And then a suite of were-rabbits. This guy from Moa, most of them from the other sets in Grimm. Okay, so these are your, and then were-rabbits with moon. So you want to have the ability to do moon stones in this deck. More were-rabbits, all these were-rabbits, and then of course your rainbow comes from these spells. that I showed when I cracked the Moa box. And then I only have 2 here, but I would have 4 where you can produce Moon from a field edition. Then some more mana, and of course, because you're in a 5 attribute deck, you can really draw cards with Whirlpool of Knowledge, a great card. And then in your higher end, you can use this guy for drawing a card, put the top magic stone in your field, so you can boost, you can protect, you can filter. Again, Alice's Pursuit. This guy, I'm not sure if he would make the deck, but I put him in here because I pulled the playset out of the box. Enters your field, destroy target Cthulhu, so it does a little bit of rock papers with the Cthulhu in the one of the decks that I showed. And then I happen to have a playset of this card, which is your Moon for Were-Rabbits, so it boosts them by 200. Okay, and then of course I did have some more Purple Mist laying around. I love this card. And you've got a Hoser, 3 of them. Oh, here's more Whirlpools. Actually, I think these go in the other deck. Yeah, these go here. Okay, and then you've got this Hoser where you can declare a race, and then nobody can hit you for that with that race. You can use that. Okay, so that is the Kaguya deck. And then finally, last but not least, the Shahrazad deck. And in that case, you have some staples. And then the Shahrazad deck has a lot of humans, I believe. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it has elves. Oh, I'm sorry. Then I made a mistake. Yeah, these cards belong. I put them in the wrong deck. These cards go with the light deck, which is light water, because most of your cards are humans. And so if you banish one of your own resonators, you're going to get 3 cards. Yeah, and I put the Whirlpool of Knowledges there. Okay, that's where they go. All right, let's get back to where we were. And so this Shahrazad deck it's got some 6 sages, but it's really all around elves. Some cake zones, and then just elves. Okay, and I have casual elves. I didn't put in the elf mana dork. Fairy tale human, but it gives you will. And then the top is a playset of Blazer. That's your top. Okay. And then you've got some elves from the other sets. And of course it has destroy target vampire, but I don't have a vampire deck in here, so it's all about the elves. And then I put in some other cards just to toy with the idea. I mean, this guy has swiftness, this guy has flying, so some fire resonators that would be good in a deck. Then some other effects, some other cards, then prevent damage. I'm not sure how good that would be, but the blades are there. Why not? Pulled like 1,000 of them out of the box, so you can equip. And the same thing that you would do from a Moa box for fire. Hit, filter, protect, and then some cake zones to cancel spells. And if you decide to have a sideboard, put target fire or darkness resonator on top of its owner's deck. So this would be really bad against the fire darkness deck. Yeah, so a few more additional helpers. And then this card, which allows you to drop a card from your hand. I'm not sure how useful it is. It's a cost 5 already. But anyways, that was just a quick tour of how you can take a box of Moa, and if you have a few cards from Grimm block from the other sets, you can build a pretty decent set of decks. And these are the 4 that I decided to get started with, and these are just the selections. I would trim these and spend time kind of giving each deck a balancing set of cards, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it at that. And then in the next videos, the next 2 videos, I'm going to crack 15, I think it's 15 packs of Moon Priestess Returns.